on the topic Leading with Authority, the women's role in strategy, governance, and economic policy. Now, in my view, authority is not about holding a title. Authority is not about holding a title. In my view, authority is about competence. Competence. Authority is about confidence. It is about credibility. Competence, confidence, and credibility. The kind that influences outcomes at the highest level. That, for me, is authority. The challenges that we face here in Kenya, and not just here in Kenya, but actually when you think about it globally, you know, things like climate change, technological disruption, shifting the global trade, all of these challenges that we face require diverse, inclusive, and adaptive leadership. Diverse, inclusive, and adaptive leadership. And that is why this conference and you, each one of you, is so special to us, because you bring your diversity. But yet, when we think about it, too few women are shaping the economic policies that we see across the world. Too few women are chairing boards. Too few women are sitting on boards. Too few women are holding CEO roles. We are present, yes, in those spheres, but often we are not proportionately empowered. And conversations such as the ones that we are having today are the ones that are going to help us change that narrative. But why does women's authority matter? This is not just about fairness. It is not about being fair to us as women. It is about effectiveness. That is what it is. It is about effectiveness. Research tells us that when women lead in governance and in policy, performance often improves. Diversity. Remember I talked about diversity and inclusion. Risks are better managed. Outcomes serve broader communities. In the boardroom, in my view, women drive deeper conversations on long-term sustainability, on risk, on strategy. We must be at the table. But here is the truth. Here is my truth. Authority is not given. Authority is not given. It is claimed. And remember I said authority is what? Competence? Absolutely. It is not given. It is claimed. And it is claimed because we need those three things. Competence, always sharpening our skills. Courage, speaking up even when we feel uncomfortable about it. That discussion in the boardroom that doesn't seem to be going well, and you don't agree with it. Having the competence, the courage to speak up. But it is also about coalition building. It is not about isolating people. It is about using our networks to lift one another up. And so I ask, what role are we going to play in the economic transformation of the country we find ourselves in? What role are you going to play as women in the strategy of the organization of the board that you sit on? How are we going to shape governance models that serve both growth and equity? How will we ensure women's leadership is transformational, not tokenistic? Because we don't want tokenistic leadership. At Women on Boards Network, our response is very clear. We will build the capacity of our members, we will mentor, and we will advocate for women leadership. We prepare the next generation of women leaders so that they never have to ask for a seat at the table. They will never have to ask for a seat at the table because they will be expected to be there. And so, as we begin this conference, I challenge each one of us to be present, to be engaged, to be intentional. We were speaking with each other about why we have come here to attend. What are we looking to achieve? Be present, be engaged, be intentional. Let today be more than an exchange of ideas. Let it be the start of decisions, of alliances, of networks, of commitments that move us forward, that help each one of us move forward. Because leadership, true leadership, is not about the position that you hold. It is about the impact that you make, the legacy that you leave. So when women lead with authority, organizations benefit, organizations grow, the country grows, Kenya grows, Africa grows, the world grows, and the world wins. Let me just repeat something I said earlier before John Gumi walked into the room, and I want us to just appreciate John, who is our brand ambassador for the Women on Boards Network Kenya. He's right at the back there. And I said to the brand ambassadors, the board of WOBN feels accountable even without questions being asked, because they speak our names and our brand in rooms where we do not find ourselves. Eternally grateful, John. Thank you very much. And so, as I end, I wish each one of us an enriching and impactful session, conference, these 3 days that we are here. Let them be about impact and legacy. Let's think about our impact, our legacy. And let's remember the 3 things that I spoke about: competence, courage, and coalition building. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I think we can do a better clap, isn't it? Thank you. And as we go along, we'll learn a few more clapping styles as we go along, so that we make it more interesting, isn't it? All right. That was quite insightful, isn't it? Yeah? So what are we taking away? Mine is impact and legacy. Yeah, impact and legacy. I'll keep thinking about that. So we move into our next conversation for this morning, and we're going to speak about the future of governance. Women's seat at the policy table. Two leaders in that conversation is Elizabeth Obanda, Women's Economic Empowerment Specialist at the WOBN. She has over 2 decades experience in policy and development. She champions gender inclusion governance frameworks that open up economic and leadership spaces for women. Her voice has been instrumental in advancing inclusive legislation across Africa. Karibu sana, Elizabeth.
Thank you very much, Rose. Habari asubuhi. We are at the coast, so we have to speak some Kiswahili, isn't it? Yeah. So even if it's not your mother, it's not your tongue, what do we normally say? And I feel like, Catherine, you and I were sitting in the same space thinking the same way, because I'm simply going to repeat what Catherine said. So first, as she has introduced me, I'm Elizabeth Obanda. I work for the UN Women Kenya Country Office. UN Women is one of those, can I say the youngest maybe agency within the UN system, celebrating 15 years the whole of this month. And UN Women was put in place because towards the end of the Millennium Development Goals, there was a feeling that we are not achieving sustainable development because women and girls are not at the table. And so UN Women work to include women and girls in leadership spaces, to make sure that women are safe from gender-based violence, to make sure that women are part of peace processes, so that if there are conversations around peace, that they would bring an alternative voice, but also to make sure that women have some money in their pockets. And I lead that work that leads to women having some money in their pockets. So it's a pleasure for me to be here and to speak about this topic, which we all know about and are thinking about in a different way. So the future of governance, women sit at the policy table. And I thought to myself, in simple terms, what really is governance? And it is the exercising of authority to manage affairs. Exercising of authority to manage affairs. It is about decision making, it is about rule making, it is about oversight. So you are exercising authority to manage affairs, and you are making decisions, you are part of the rule making, and you are providing oversight in a way that is accountable, in a way that is transparent, and in a way that upholds the rule of law. Simply, that is what it means. And the first person that came to my mind was my mother. When I thought about this topic, about exercising authority, the first person that came to my mind was my mother. And I thought to myself, in this room, can anybody or can people tell me just one thing, one word that describes their mother when they think about authority? One word. Each one of us, take a second to think about your mother in terms of governance and the way she governed your household, because that is an institution itself. One word.
Morning, everyone. I think my mom was very decisive. My mom was very powerful.
Innovative.
Disciplinarian.
The ultimate influence.
Equity.
Consistency.
She was assertive. Yeah. Disciplinarian. Very knowledgeable.
Yeah. So we We can go round, isn't it? Anybody that has a word that we haven't referred to that would like to tell us yes? Oh, shout. Tera.
Comptroller. The comptroller.
Controller, yes.
No nonsense.
No nonsense. Yes.
Firm.
Firm, yes.
Empathetic.
Empathetic, yes.
She said very high standards.
High standards, yes.
Decision maker.
Decision maker,
Tenacious.
tenacious.
Perseverance.
Perseverance. Yeah, we can go on, and each one of us has a term for our mothers, you know, and what she was. And as you have noted, all these are descriptors of strength, isn't it? Yeah, they are about strength. And so I'm also reminded about another woman in the Bible, okay? And this woman was of noble character. This woman was the governor of her household. And why was she the governor? The husband was sitting at the gate when she was governing her household. She did no harm. She had urgency. She was hardworking. She traded. We normally say, oh, women have issues to do with mobility. They cannot go far. No, she traded far afield. She was a decision maker, like some of us have said. She was kind and humane. She made sure that her family and even her servants were well taken care of. She had money. This business of women being multidimensionally poor, out. We are told 56% of women in Kenya are multidimensionally poor. We have no reason, because we have people to look up to who are there before. Yeah? Yes. She was a very good planner. She planned in a way that her household was food secure. And even during winter, her household was properly, kept warm. Yeah? Because of proper planning. She was well organized. Yeah? She was strong and dignified. She was wise. She was visionary. And as a result, she was respected. And I keep thinking, if we had governors such as those, would we have people walking around saying Kasongo must go? No. If we had, would we have hospitals that run down and have no medicines? No. Would we be food insecure, importing, God knows, fish from China, importing eggs from China, okay? Because we are not using the resources that we have properly, because that is the responsibility of a governor, to judiciously utilize the resources that we have available, okay? We are told 20% of Kenyan land is arable, and 80% is arid, semi-arid. But even that arid and semi-arid, we get rain. We are not like Israel, and we can harvest that water and use it for food production. Would we have garbage piles all over Kenya? Would we? If we had judicious governance systems, would we have piles of rubbish everywhere? It's embarrassing when you have a guest from outside and you're walking with them and you don't know where to look and they're telling you Kenya is beautiful and you're thinking, what are you saying? Yeah? Would our children be roaming the streets, homeless? Because those are somebody's children. And don't tell me that that was misdirected, I don't know what. No, those are our children, roaming the streets, homeless. With 7 out of 10 shillings. 7 out of the 10 shillings that we earn go to paying debt for things we don't even know. It wouldn't be. I am therefore quite convinced, without a doubt, that the board of the future must be a board that is able to institutionalize gender parity in decision-making, boards that are gender transformative in governance. boards that are able to exercise policies, programs, and initiatives that are aimed to achieve gender equality by including marginalized groups, women, girls, persons with disability, elder persons. Boards that are able to monitor and evaluate and take stock of just how far they have gone in terms of progress towards this gender equality. And in gender equality, we're not talking about sameness. It is not about sameness. It's about providing opportunities to all. Providing opportunities to all, not sameness. God created the male and female, so that will never change. The men will never become women and the women will never become men. But it's about opportunities and valuing each one of us. It is boards that are able to challenge the root causes of unequal power relations. I have been leading work on development of the national care policy in Kenya, and we are at a point where that national care policy is sitting with the Cabinet Secretary Gender. And we are saying that it is important that the government of Kenya recognizes, and all of us recognize, that care and paid care and domestic work is an issue. There has been a study done by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and that study showed that women spend about 5 times more time on unpaid care and domestic work. And that is one of the reasons why they are not able to participate effectively in the economic space. So recognize that it is an issue. Work towards reducing it, whether it is by using technology, so that we have tractors that are affordable, that can till our land, instead of having somebody with the whole day, so that there are water points close by, so that people are not walking 5 kilometers to go and collect water, so that there are energy sources that are affordable, so clean energy, so women are not walking for hours and hours going to collect firewood. So recognize that it's an issue, reduce it using technology, redistribute it. And redistributing it is mostly focused at household level, that all of us are pulling together, men and women, that we are doing what we are supposed to do. But reward it. So most of us are here because somebody has provided care to us. How are we rewarding those people who have provided care? Whether they are working in the hotel or your domestic work at home, how are we rewarding that care that is provided to us? What are the conditions of work? Okay, and representation, that there is a space for all of us to speak. So we are hoping that that policy will be approved, and that the government of Kenya, the private sector, households and communities, civil society organizations will all rally together and invest in care infrastructure. But again, as Catherine said, and I will say the same thing, that it goes beyond simply including women in decision-making or providing resources to women. Instead, it seeks fundamentally to transform social structures and cultural values to create a more equitable society where both women and men can reach their full potential. It should not be tokenism. We are not talking about women alone. We are talking about women and men and youth and persons with disability, all of us in our diversity, that we have a space. I kept thinking yesterday when I sat at the airport, I was supposed to come with a 1 o'clock plane. I ended up coming with the 6:30 one. And then when we were waiting for our luggage, we were all queuing for the toilet, because somebody in their decision making created 2 toilets for women, and 2 toilets for men, and 2, I think, urinals for men. So if you put on a woman's hat, you'd know that our physiology is different, and the way we use toilets is different. Give us 6, why you give the men 2? For goodness sake, So why should we bother about gender transformative governance systems? Because gender equality is smart economics and crucial for sustainable economies and populations. We are told that advancing gender equality would add $12 trillion to global GDP and increase country-level output by about 35%. And we all want prosperous economies, isn't it? Yes. So, also, it's important to have gender transformative systems, because gender diverse leadership teams boost profitability by about 21%. But it is also a human right. It is a right of all of us to be governed judiciously. We have a right to sit in policy-making spaces. We have a right also to be provided with opportunities to speak, to be part of the decision-making, to be served, but also we have responsibilities. So how do we institutionalize gender parity in decision-making bodies? We need to promote policy reforms that ensure equal representation of women in governance structures at all levels, and this includes championing gender quotas and parity laws, especially including in political parties and public institutions. We have been talking forever around the 2/3 gender rule. We haven't gone anywhere. I keep wondering, why have we not been able to move? What is so wrong about having 1/3 of people in a room as women, even if 2/3 are men, or have 2/3 women and 1/3 are men? Why are we not able to have this 2/3 gender rule in place, approved? Because if it was approved, then it will obligate every space, every institution to make sure that we have 1/3 of the other gender. 1/3 of women, maybe. 1/3 of youth, maybe. 1/3 of persons with a disability, maybe. Okay? So we need to work towards this 2/3 gender rule. But actually, we need a 50-50, not just 2/3. But the bare minimum should be this 2/3, 2/3. Across the UN system, gender parity is a strategic goal, with agencies committing to 50-50 representation in governance and leadership roles and responsibilities. The truth of the matter is nobody has actually done an assessment, so we don't know whether they are 50-50. They are institutions that have very many women. There are institutions that have very many men. There are certain levels that have 50-50, but others don't have. I was listening to Homa Bay the other day. I understand it is the only county that has achieved 50-50 political representation. Yeah? Homa Bay, led by Wanga. Yeah? I think it's important that we clap to them. So that is a case study there, right there for all of us, to try and understand how did they achieve this 50-50. Of course, Governor Wanga, when she was talking, she said all the women are Dr. So-and-so, apart from herself and Millie. And she said even herself and Millie, they are back to school, and they will soon be Dr. So-and-so, whereas all the men are Mr. So-and-so. So what Catherine said about excellence, it's also very, very important that as women, if you're going to compete, I'm telling you, you have to do a lot more. You have to go back to school. You must read, yeah, so that you are able to compete, yeah. So fostering social and economic change, it's important for us to work towards achieving lasting change by improving social positions, promoting economic growth, and creating more equitable and resilient societies. It is important for us to leverage intersectionality. Women are not just women. Women are old or older, like Elizabeth. Women are young. Women live in rural areas. Women are different. So it's important, and some of them are poor, some of them are wealthy, so it is important that we look at women in totality, that we leverage intersectionality. So recognizing how factors like ethnicity, age, disability, and climate change intersect with gender to amplify risks, requiring a nuanced, context-specific approach. So we need to conduct intersectional gender analysis, systematically identifying root causes of gender inequality within specific contexts. One time in between work, I do consultancies. I was consulting, looking at the inclusion of women in the oil industry in Turkana. And it was very clear that because the community does not even encourage women to go to school, there was not a single woman that could be employed. So already by virtue of traditions and norms, the women were excluded. So think about exclusion and how that is done. And that's why for us it's also very important that we speak about intergenerational conversations. So engage stakeholders broadly, foster social dialogues and constructive engagement with men, women, community leaders, and other stakeholders to challenge norms and promote positive change. Somebody says, if you're talking about gender equality, you don't just talk to women. We are already sold over. You must talk to men as well, okay? It is this patriarchal system that already places them at a particular place that is an issue that needs to be addressed. So speak to them. Make sure that they are allies. Make sure that they understand that by taking your daughter to school, you're actually helping yourself. Yeah? If you start from the issue of your wife, you might not get far. But if you talk to him about his daughter, you'll get somewhere. Because he will not want anybody to sit on his daughter, isn't it? Yeah? He'll want his daughter to go to school and to be somebody. Yeah? So strengthen women's leadership, increase women's participation in decision making. That really is very important. So ensure accountability and transparency by establishing clear accountability mechanisms and ensure transparency in governance processes to promote justice and equality. Promote inclusive data and monitoring. One of the things that the UN Women is doing very closely with Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, funded by Gates Foundation, is a program known as Women Count. Again, towards the end of the Millennium Development Goals, there was very little data that the government of Kenya could use to speak to its progress. And so this program was established, and it is focusing on providing gender disaggregated data. That is why, for instance, through the time use survey and the needs assessment, we are able to establish how we are spending our time. And therefore, by extension, developed this national policy on care. And so it's important to have this data so that we know, we can tell whether there is progress or not, whether we are advancing sustainable development goals or we are not doing it. So monitoring is very important, documentation is very important. Continuous learning, okay? We have to learn, and I am glad that Catherine and your team have to put together this every year for us to come here and learn. We must learn. That is the only way that we are all-rounded. That is the only way that we can actually actively engage other people intelligently, you know, and merit the spaces where we are. So therefore, every organization, private or not, should increasingly adopt board diversity policies, recognizing that inclusive leadership drives innovation and better governance outcomes. So we spoke about building leadership pipelines for women and girls, intergenerational growth. We must all ask ourselves, are we our sister's keeper? How are we doing that? There are those who, by virtue of their achievements, are inspirational and role models to others. There are those, such as Oprah Winfrey, who have established schools of excellence for their daughters. She has not given birth to one single one, but she has many daughters, and she has established schools of excellence, a school of excellence for them in South Africa. What is it that we are doing ourselves? There are those who have established mentoring programs and give of their time and skills, and I think Catherine spoke about that as well. There are those who have established scholarship programs to grow others, and the list goes on. The question is, how do you grow others to walk in your footsteps as you exit? You have worked 10, 20, 30 years. You are thinking about moving away. Who is going to take your space? Do they have the capacity that you have? What has your contribution been in growing this person to sit knowledgeably in that space? In the UN, empowering women through leadership development is central to our mandate. And that is important in securing the future for women and girls to be inclusive in leadership and governance. Quite a few of these women, members of parliament, will tell you that they have gone through a UN Women program and that it has supported them in some way for them to get where they are. So as an agency, that is part of what we are doing. I was told 45 minutes. I hope I'm not past. So again, the UN Women supports capacity building programs, mentorship and civic education initiatives targeting women and young girls. This is because empowered women leaders are more likely to influence policy outcomes and mentor others, creating a ripple effect. Even in the area of STEM, we lead a program that is called African Girls Can Code Initiative. And it is a program that runs across 11 countries. And next week, we are starting our coding camp, our third coding camp. And it's a program that does not just train girls about job readiness, 17 to 24-year-olds, but it also mentors them in every way, so that when they come out, they are confident girls. And our girls have done very well. Every time there is a team of girls that are invited to go, like last year we had 6 girls from 11 countries go to Germany. 50% of those girls came from Kenya. 50% came from Kenya. So that tells you something about us. So, and that is because innovation is very important. And it's important for our girls to be part of these spaces. We are told that 30% of the girls that come from university or colleges are ICT savvy. 30% are girls. But we want these girls to be competitive. So mentoring is very, very important. So of course we know private sector partners who support executive coaching and leadership pipelines for women, aligning with the ECG environmental social governance standards, because they understand that businesses that embed gender equality mitigate long-term social, regulatory, and economic risks. So those, and that is the only way that businesses are able to sustain outcomes. So embedding gender perspectives in policy and governance, women organizations must promote gender-responsive budgeting and planning to ensure policies reflect the realities of women and marginalized groups. So UN agencies use tools like gender equality markers and conventions on the elimination of all forms of discrimination against women, frameworks to guide inclusive policy making. So within the UN system now, oh, how many minutes? I can't see that far. My specs are 10. Okay, good. Yeah. Sorry, I can't see very far. Right now, if you were to write a proposal to submit to the UN, you want it funded. If it does not meet this gender equality marker, it will not go anywhere. It will not go anywhere. They will look at it and ask, is it gender transformative? If it is not, and that is not just UN Women, it is UN Women, it is FAO, it's every UN agency, because that decision has been made at the resident coordinators level. So any one of you who wants to do business with the UN system, make sure that your proposal is gender transformative. And as I said, gender transformative does not mean that you are only working with women. No, it means that you're challenging some of those norms and traditions that are making it difficult for women to be part and parcel of those processes. So we are also told that private sector actors are adopting gender impact assessments and inclusive design principles to ensure equitable service delivery and product development. And why is it important? Because 86% of consumers expect companies to take a stand on gender equality. So if you want your brand to thrive and to have extensive market share, consider gender equality and the empowerment of women. So creating safe spaces is very important. We must ask ourselves, is our place of work safe for women and girls to work? Are we working towards eliminating gender-based violence and discrimination in every way, including in political and professional environments? Are there reporting and referral systems that are anonymous? Are we punishing perpetrators or rewarding them? One time I was seconded as an advisor to an organization I will not say, a government institution, and so part of my job was to do some assessment and try and address that within 6 months. It was not very easy. But suddenly my office became the safe space that everybody came to. So they said they had no problem. But now suddenly everybody was going, and not just women, even men, going around looking like that and coming. Elizabeth, do you know, we are told by 7 a.m. we have to be here. Sometimes 7 in the evening, we have reached home, we are cold. You know, so suddenly there were all these abuses that were coming forth, and there had been nobody to listen. And they knew that I would only be there for 6 months and go away, and they knew that I was not an employee of that organization. So I was that safe space that people came to speak to. And, you know, so is your organization a safe space for men and women to work, for persons with a disability to work, for youth to work? Is it a safe space? Is there a referral system that will allow them to work? Because it's one thing to say, Elizabeth, I've given you a job, but if you've made it very difficult for me to work, I'm not able to work. So think about that. So in the UN system, again, it enforces zero tolerance policies. And when you want to do business with the UN women, they'll ask you, do you have a policy against gender-based violence? If you don't have that policy, it will exclude you. Do you have a policy against gender-based violence? Are your officers trained around to understand what gender-based violence is? And UN Women runs what we call women empowerment principles. I don't know how many of you are in companies that have signed up to women empowerment principles. Anyone here? Anyone? Yes, Catherine. Yes. So please make sure that your company signs to the women empowerment principles. There are 7 different principles. So just look for that, googlewebs.org, okay? In Kenya, we are at almost 130 countries, organizations. Globally, we are over 10,000 organizations. It is a good space to be. It is a community of practice that is worth being. It includes buyer and supplier diversity issues. That is principle 5. So be part of that. It means that your CEO, and if you're not the CEO, your CEO must commit to proper practices, including, same pay for equal work done. Do you know that in Kenya here, a study was done, globally, women earn 20% less than what men earn for the same work. In Kenya, it's at around 11%, the difference. So for every $1, the women will earn 89 cents. Globally, for every $1, the women will earn 80 cents. So embracing the WEB's Women Empowerment Principles will help your organization to embrace these principles and make sure that if you are not being paid equally, then you are paid equally, because they also have responsibility to report every year. So again, advancing legal reforms and accountability for gender equality is important. UN agencies provide technical support for legislative reforms and monitor progress through SDG indicators. And every sector must increasingly be held accountable through gender KPIs, transparency standards, and public reporting on diversity and inclusion. I want to end, but as I end, I go back to the good book. And I say that a good governor speaks up for those who cannot speak for themselves. A good governor maintains the rights of those who are destitute. A good governor judges fairly. A good governor defends the rights of the poor and needy. A good governor utilizes people's resources judiciously. A good governor is a servant of the people that they govern. But even as we advocate for gender transformative governance systems, systems that are 5P compliant, that means they're people-centric, they're doing no harm to the planet, they're peaceable, they're seeking prosperity for all, and they're working in partnership with others. As women, we must lean in. We must be bold. We must show up and be heard. We must seek excellence and add value. We must merit our seats. And above all, we must be women, compassionate, judicious, governing with our hearts and our heads. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insightful conversation, Elizabeth. Do we have any questions? Any questions? Okay. Yeah, I think you can help me from here.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Rose, it's a question to you. will you give us the presenters' contacts at the end of this forum?
The presenters' contacts. You're here to network. 3 days. I'm sure you can collect that contact, isn't it? Thank you. Any other question? Yeah. Wendy, maybe Eunice, you can take one side of the room so that we manage time.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Catherine Nyaga. The question I have to Elizabeth is about the UN Women program, and she has said there are a few women who have done it. My question is it for a certain type of women, maybe in certain career, or is it open to everybody? And how can you get in, if applicable? Thank you.
Okay, do you want to take that, Elizabeth?
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for that question. I think the program you referred to is the African Girls Can Code Initiative. Is that the one? Oh, she's this side, sorry. Yeah, so the African Girls Code Initiative. Because you just said a program. Okay, so there's one for leadership, which has supported many politicians, and there's the one for African Girls Can Code Initiative. So the one for African Girls Can Code Initiative is for 17 to 24-year-old girls who have just finished Form 4 and in college or waiting to go to college and are interested in ICT, STEM, in coding. So those ones, every year we advertise, and right now, last week, we just did our shortlisting. So we have 150 girls waiting to go into camp, and basically it's for that age group and the girls. The one in leadership is a program that is run towards election time, and in appreciation of the fact that, of course, women have very many challenges, challenges to do with even urgency, the ability to get up and say, I want to vie. 2, all this, lack of money, the insults, the stereotypes that women face. And so for that program, when they advertise, the good thing about the UN system is that it does advertise everything. So just watch out, make sure that you are connected, and when they advertise, put in your application. And again, these intergenerational conversations are very important. We're trying to see, it's not just the ones who have been there year in, year out. Can we have new people come into that space? So when they advertise, go for it. Thank you.
We'll take one more question.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Chengo. Thank you so much, great speaker Elizabeth. I think my question is there a correlation between, and because you're talking about the future, a correlation between more women on board or at the table to contribute to the national development and what is happening at the family level, because you started asking us questions of what our mothers were doing then, because they were majorly at home. And my mother would spit and say, before my spit dries, I want water here, and I would run, So I think I just wanted to understand, where is the balance? Because we are the nurturers, we need to nurture the family, and we still need to sit at the table. What would be your advice in that? Thank you.
Yeah, because our families.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I started with what we know. And what we know, the institution that we know and that we grew up in, is our families. And that is the cell, the smallest cell as part of the nation. If I can excel at my home level, if I'm able to organize my family properly, to plan properly, why am I not able to run the country? I should be able to run the country. So in my mind, start small, and you start small at the family level. The values that you inculcate at your family level. You can imagine a situation if we had the kind of respect that we have at home. If we had that,
and that was then cascaded upwards to the national level, we should be able to do very well. So according to me, if we have families that are dysfunctional, we cannot have a nation that is functional. So let's start at the family level. Let our families be functional. Let's have values. Let's not have children who are abusing people on social media, for goodness sake. If they can abuse people, it means at home you are entertaining it. I'm sorry, maybe not. But sometimes it means that even at home, we are dysfunctional. Our children are not listening to us. So even outside there, they're not listening to anybody. So for me, the two are one and the same. This is the cell, okay? Many, many cells then make a county. Many, many cells make a nation. That for me is important. And of course, guided by the good book, because there is nothing we know that is not in that book. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Carol Kariuki. My question is on the care policy. And I was just quickly looking it up online. I found one called the Kenya National Care Policy, August 2023, wondering if that is the one you're making reference to, or if there is a separate document, because there's some things you mentioned that I don't seem to see included there.
Thank you. Thank you. We have been at this process for a long, long time. Conversations around the Kenya National Policy started way back in 2017 when it started with the development of the data, the time you survey to understand what are we talking about, what are the gendered imbalances around care, and then the needs assessment to establish whether we actually have a demand for care and supply for the same. And then when we got money in 2022, we started doing the draft national policy. And by the way, Kenya is the only country in Africa with a national care policy. Only. The other one is Cape Verde, and Cape Verde is a plan. It's not even a comprehensive national policy. So yes, that the one you've seen in 2023 is a draft. But since then, there's been a lot of work that has gone into that document. This 5P principle is global principle. Globally, we are saying, recognize that it's an issue. Okay? Work towards reducing it, because if you want economies to grow, women must be part of those spaces. So you must reduce this unpaid domestic work from them. That does not mean that we don't want to do care work. We do want to do care work. There is direct care work, which is relational, which is about how you relate to your family, you're breastfeeding your child, you're taking care of your father who is not ailing. But there is indirect care that you can avoid or that you can reduce. Like, why should I do 5 kilometers to go and collect water, for goodness sake? Why can't the government invest in water systems close to me, Yeah, so there's been a lot of change, and we now have a draft that has inclusions of even coordination by Council of Governors, issues to do with, labor, social protection. If I am taking care of an ill person, who is taking care of me? Because then it means my life stops as I'm taking care of this person who is remunerating me, giving me something so that I'm able to take care of this person who is ailing. So there is a more recent version. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Very good conversation. And I want us to encourage us to continue this over tea break in the interest of time, isn't it? But as we go, can we please reflect on what are we doing in our respective spaces in just championing this conversation of equity and equality for women in the workplaces? Are we tracking, like, for women, like I'm in KCB, we track that very closely. I think we're at 48% women versus 52% male at the group level, but at the top tier, still at 38%. So that tells us there's a gap that we need to work on, and we are very deliberate on that. What programs are we running to really empower women to come up? Because we see very clearly that as women get into childbearing mode, then they get lost there if they are not supported very carefully. They lean onto one side a lot, and then it's very difficult to come back in the workplace. To make sure that we are supporting them then to be able to bounce back and be able to have better careers as they go up the ladder. Yeah, so that's a summary, I think. I'd like us to appreciate Elizabeth, and we need to do it in style, not that papa kenyeji, yeah? So we are women. So the first clap we are going to learn is where? and a few men. Let me qualify, and a few men. But being that she's a lady, I want us to give her flowers. So we'll give her flowers as we thunder, isn't it? So we'll give her flowers, thunder 1, give her flowers, thunder 2 means twice clap, then give her flowers, thunder 3 means 3 times clap, isn't it? All right, so let's try. Flowers, thunder 1, flowers, thunder 2, flowers, now a strong one, thunder 3. Excellent. Tea break now, 20 minutes so that we manage our time. So I'll expect you back at 11:10. Tea is just right outside the room. Thank you.